All right, class, here is part 2. So we're going to start talking about multiples of these things. We have intersecting lines. All they do is they simply pass through exactly one common point on each line. So pass through exactly, can't be more than, exactly one common point. How do they look? Let's label those. We'll start with A again. A, B. C, D. Notice the point. They're intersecting at this point here. You catch my mistake? I'm talking about lines. Those need to be lowercase. So let's do that over. Because I'm talking about a line. So I'm going to call this line X and line Y. And then this point here is K. Does that kind of make sense? They intersect at K. And since these are lines, lowercase, X and Y. There isn't really a notation for this, so we're just going to write none. How do we speak it? We say line X intersects line Y. Notice the small letters at point. Are we going to use a lowercase or uppercase? It's a point, so an uppercase K. Oops. Uppercase K. Emphasize that one. Parallel lines. We should know what this is. However, let's figure out what is the actual definition. Parallel lines are in the same plane and they will never intersect. Think about some examples of that. Bring those examples to class. I'm going to put on here example question mark. Think about that. So think about your plane and think about two lines on that plane that are never going to cross paths. If we have a line here, we're going to call that line A. It's going to be straight with line B. So those two are never going to cross paths, ever, 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 ever. This one, we're going to say line A is parallel to line B. Or write it that way, I should say, and we say it the exact way. Line A is parallel to line B. Okay. So opposite of parallel is perpendicular lines. So the definition of perpendicular is they intersect to form a right angle. Oh, if I could spell, maybe. I'm not a spelling teacher. Intersect to form a right angle. You remember what a right angle is? What degree is a right angle is? The way that we're going to write that is we have line segment C. I'm going to draw this the best that I can. Line segment D. And remember, this little square here denotes that it is a right angle. It's 90 degrees. Let's actually write that on here. 90 degree. So 90-degree angle. Perpendicular, we're going to say that line C is perpendicular. There's the notation for perpendicular to line D. Let me say it the exact way. Line C is perpendicular to line D. Couple more. Opposite rays. They have a common endpoint and they extend in opposite directions. Notice I have extra space on this one. They have a common endpoint. They extend in opposite directions. Opposite rays also together form a line. Okay, so the way that that's going to look, let's write it as one ray here. We've got this ray, which we're going to call BC. Now my other ray is going to go in the opposite direction, right? And it has a common point. It has a point B. So it's going to go this way. So we've got a ray that way. And we've got a ray this way. We would say, just like we did above, BA. Oh, sorry. BC, remember, because BC goes in that direction. And we want to start with B again since that's our endpoint. BD, and it goes towards B. How would we say this one? We would say rays BC and BA are opposite rays. Not too bad, huh? Couple more. Collinear points. Collinear points are 3 or more so you have to have at least 3 or more points that are on the same line. What is that gonna look like? Let's draw a line. Remember, a line goes on forever in both directions. We need 3 points that we're gonna use capital letters for. All of those points are on the same line, so they're collinear. There isn't any notation for this. We would just say that A, B, and C are collinear. And let's throw another little example here. Let's have another point somewhere over here. E. Is E on that line? It is not, so we can even say A, B, and E are not collinear. One more and you guys are good to go for the week. We'll have homework posted. Coplanar. So just like collinear, where our points lie on the same line, coplanar are going to be 3 non-collinear points, but they are going to be in the same line. So they can't be on the same line. That lie on the same plane. Okay, so this one's a little bit harder to draw. I'm going to draw my plane here. And I've got my points J, H, M, and then I've got this line, but the line goes up and down. It's not on that plane. That's going to be point L. Okay, so notice L is not on the plane, but J, H, and M are all on that plane. There's no way to note this. And what would we say? J, H, and M are coplanar. And let's throw that L in there. J, H, and L are not coplanar. That one's a little bit more tricky to grasp. However, I know that we can come up with some examples. Think about the floor, think about the ceiling, think about the walls, and we will talk about some examples. Get creative. Think of some examples on your own. Go ahead and write them down. We're going to talk about them in class next week when we see each other. But think of some examples in real life. Like I said already, like the floor, the walls, the ceilings. A line, think about where a line would be and what would be collinear? What wouldn't be collinear? Just try to think about some of those things. Try to envision them. Remember, we're changing our brain around from numbers to points, lines, planes, all that fun stuff. So we're going to change the way we're thinking for a while. And we're just going to get used to all these notes, and we will talk about them in class. Oh, and in order, I'm sorry, I should have said this. In order to get points for your notes, part of them are going to be making sure that you come up with some examples. So write down your examples. Normally I would have some practice problems for you to try, but I just want you to think about some examples of all of the different vocab that we just talked about. Your rubric is attached to this. Depending on how well you took your notes, I'll be able to see, and you will get points just on taking notes and watching the video. Have a good one.